I gotta be honest, the new drone I just bought and will be testing out today has to be one of the best drones on paper that I've seen in quite a while. For instance, it has multiple versions of Smart Track, a ton of built-in quick shots, 4K 60 video, 3-axis gimbal, precision landing pad search function, AI super night video capability, manual camera settings, stick sensitivity adjustments, 5-mile range. All the things I always ask the manufacturers to include seem to be included in this drone. I was like, you're kidding. I know, right? Well, with the hundreds of drones I've flown and tested throughout the years, apparently I forgot to ask for this one thing, and it's a biggie. So let's talk about it. In a nutshell, this is a 246 gram drone from Fimi, the Mini 3, and as I mentioned, it does have some pretty impressive specs. We should always make sure that we have adequate satellites as well, and I can see that we have 22 satellites right now, which is quite a few, so we should be just fine there. Actually, I can see the small number that is the 22 up there because I do have this display on here, which is this nice tablet display. And the reason I can fit this on this drone is because I did do a couple of hacks on some old tablet mounts that I have. So I'm able to use this bigger and brighter drone tablet, which is huge for me. And I'm actually thinking about doing a video on how I did this, so it'll fit on multiple drone remotes. So let me know in the comments if this is something you're interested in, how I did this, and maybe I'll do a video on it. I did do a video on this particular tablet, though you can use another tablet as well, but I'll put a link in the description so you can go check that one out if you're interested in a tablet. So let's just get this thing up in the air, see what kind of stability we have. Sticks down and in. Very nice indeed. So far for Fimi, boy, they've done a fantastic job with the stability. This thing is sitting dead place, and there is maybe a 5 or 8 mile an hour wind or so. So, wow, really nice, very nice and stable. You let me know what you see in the video here. It said look pretty clean. Seems pretty good on my FPV here. All the camera parameters are in auto. So right now we could go into manual, which is really nice. It does have a manual mode, but right now we're in auto and it looks pretty good to me. But you let me know in the comments. What do you think? What do you see? Let's take it up, do a few flights, see what the video looks like. One thing I always like to do, of course, is I love to head to this pond. One reason is that I can always get a consistent color reading on what it looks like. And the also is I love to do a manual orbit because manual orbit tells us a lot of things. It tells us not only a little bit of distance because I know where this pond is, but it tells us video quality, but also tells us the sensitivity of the sticks. And it looks like we are able to get an orbit going here, which is really nice. And to be honest, it's pretty easy to get this orbit to be pretty clean here. That tells us that, hey, we're probably going to be able to do it, and that is a little higher quality of drone. A cheaper drone, you'll never be able to do this, but it does look like a pretty fair orbit, I think. Well, I know there's a fire pit over here, so I always want to double check this zoom. Let's see what this zoom looks like here. There's a 12x zoom, which is a mammoth zoom, and it kind of sneaks up on it, which is nice. Not sure of it being a little bit fuzzy like this. It looks like on the FPV anyway. We'll see what it looks like on the SD card, but it looks like maybe it's a digital zoom and it's maybe a little bit blurry, but wow, a 12x zoom is incredible. Another thing we want to do is always make sure that we have a good gimbal tilt, or make sure that there's no horizon tilt in our image. And a way to do that, we spin back and forth here a little bit and see what that looks like. And boy, right off the bat here, it doesn't look too bad. I don't see anything obnoxious. Now, to be honest, I thought I saw some in the past. This is pretty darn good. I don't really see anything on the FPV here that worries me at all. Something that I've noticed as well here, I have not had one bit of breakup whatsoever. The FPV has been perfectly fluid. I haven't had any jitters or anything that would let me know that we're losing connection. That being said, it's doing a heck of a job as far as signal transmissions. So we're going to turn around and bring this back here. And one thing that's kind of cool is you'll notice going back and forth, if you can see my screen, that there is a little H here, which tells us that's the home point that we took off from. And that's kind of neat. It's really a nice visual when you're spinning around. You can see that it sticks. So if we're spinning, we know direction of the home point by just spinning back and forth. Again, a really nice feature, and I have to give Fimi a lot of credit. That is another really nice feature. And it's at about 35, 36 miles an hour. Hey, before I forget, if you're enjoying this video so far or learned something you didn't know before, take a second, click that like button. Really do appreciate it. So we just did hit our low battery prompt, and we're going to go ahead and let it do its return to home. And this does have a search feature which should search for our landing pad. So I'm excited to see how close it can get to landing on the landing pad with this smart search turned on. All right, and it is right here above us on its way down, and we're going to see if we can catch it here. So here is our first return to home, and it did land right on the pad. Boy, it was about 6-8 inches off the center of the pad, but I will take that any day of the week. You saw when it came down. See if I can put some of this up here that I saw on the display when I was recording. When it came down, it found the pad and searched and went right to it. All right, so we got our battery all juiced up. So let's take off here and do a few of the quick shots and see what those look like. So the first one most people like to do is that orbit. So let's hit that orbit first off here and see what it does. And it says fly to the center of where the center of the orbit's going to be. And we are right above us. We didn't move. So let's just set us right smack in the center. Setting center. Set that radius. Now let's fly away. Now keep away from those kids over there, but let's do that 40 feet or so radius. And we'll point back at us over here. That should be our center radius. And set radius. And we can set speed and direction. So let's slow that down like a nice slow one and counterclockwise, just free. And let's do center. Let's see what it does. The drone is flying really nice. It looks good. And boy, that thing is centered. They've nailed the centering of that. That is a beautiful orbit. It does show the home point in there and we'll reset it. Again, fantastic, I think. I don't believe that anybody would have a problem with that orbit whatsoever. It is beautiful from what I can tell, but of course I'm always interested in what you guys think. You let me know what you think. Would this work for you? The orbit looks like it's doing a heck of a nice job here, so let's run to our next one. Cancel the orbit. Let's want to do a spiral. See what it looks like, and I think we're going to probably do the same thing again. Change the center, and yes, there it is. All right, so there's our center. So now let's set radius. Let's back up a little bit. It's like it's doing its thing nice here. The drone is really nice and solid in the air. And man, that is centered. It knows exactly where it is. We did do a review on the Fimi X8 Pro, and that was a really good flyer as well. I had some other issues, but really that did a pretty nice job as well. So one of the really important ones here that we want to make sure we get to, so I want to do this one next, is the follow me mode, because that's really important with this level of drone. So many drones have failed to either do a good follow me or they fail to include the follow me at all. So it's really important that one works. So let's try that one next. Let's do the follow me. First of all, let's find us, and we are here, so let's that. There we are. Let's do a follow, and we're going to do a track first, and let's do it. So there's our follow. Let's take a little hike here and see what it does. Oh, I really like it so far because it is following us dead center. It is keeping us in the middle of the screen. This thing is solid, it is centered, and it is smooth. So again, I have to give them a heck of a lot of credit here because, boy, this is fantastic. And one of the worst things is when you try to back up on it or run towards it, it has a hard time keeping up. So, I mean, look at what this does, even going right backwards. This drone now is flying straight backwards because I'm trying to walk underneath it. Look at how nice this thing keeps us in the center. Again, if you want to follow, boy, this is doing a heck of a job here. This is fantastic. This is, again, one of the nicest follows that I've seen in a long time. So one of the other options here is a surround. So this one will not only do the follow, but will round us at the same time, which is fantastic. So let's give this a little bit of movement here. Do our follow again and see what it does. because that's a pretty complicated move. If you think about this thing following while it's spinning, it's a pretty complicated thing to do. And boy, it's doing a really nice job keeping us in the center again. Really do like it. And if you can see the drone right now, the drone is solid and it is rotating around us. Again, I can see this one being incredibly useful for cinematic video. If you're trying to get something yourself or some object or a car or whatever you're trying to do, and you're trying to get some kind of a cinematic move around that object while it's moving, I mean, man, what a great way to do that, but to have it not only follow, but then rotate around while you're doing it. Man, what a great option. All right, so let's stop that. But let's do a parallel follow. So the parallel follow, when you're doing that, it will always stay in the same place. So right now it's up here to this direction, and a parallel follow means it is going to stay there. So indeed it is doing just that. No matter what I move, that drone is staying in the same place with relation to where I am right now. So the more I move away, or if I turn, it always stays in exactly the same place. So it's staying parallel to where I am regardless of the direction I'm going at it or farther away. So something that I noticed as well in the air is this isn't very loud. A lot of the smaller drones like this will be incredibly noisy, kind of like a bee noise. And yes, I can hear it, but it's not an irritating noise. So again, that is a nice kind of side effect of this one. It did a nice job with the props. So also we'll do a waypoint quick. I like that you can set parameters at each one. You can record, you can do a photograph, you can hover for a period of time at that particular waypoint. So again, a lot of functionality within this as well. And let's just go. And the drone is going. We see it on this track that it's definitely going towards the second waypoint here. Track it on this real nice. Let's see what it looks like here on the map. And there it is at waypoint 1, turning to waypoint number 2. And then we're going to turn and come back towards waypoint number 3, towards these trees over here. And there we are at waypoint number 3, and waypoint mission completed. Nice. And it's telling us that we have only enough battery to return to home, so we're going to let it do its thing. And here's our second return to home with our other battery, and it seems to have done a pretty good job as well. I'm pretty impressed with the ability to find that landing pad and drop down for, again, this level of drone. This is a little bit less expensive drone, so this is doing a really nice job. And one last thing, before we head into the studio and check out what all this footage looks like and check what comes in the box, and I'll give you all my overview of this, this is supposed to have an AI night mode, remember, which is supposed to give us some super high quality night mode video. And this camera isn't super huge. It doesn't have a super huge sensor. So I'm interested to see really what that looks like. So let's just fast forward a few hours into the future and take a few shots at night to see what it looks like. Well, hello there. Thanks for sticking around, and good thing too, because there's been some interesting developments since I first recorded this that you're going to want to hear about, including multiple drones and some discussions with Fimi, but more on this in a bit. First, let's run through some things that I think they got right and some that need improvement. There's a lot that they actually got right on this drone, and first, the hover and stability was great. We ended up flying when the wind was gusting around 10 to 12 miles an hour, and it handled it well. No issues there. Next, the controllability, including manual adjustments for things like stick curves and gimbal sensitivity, and manual camera settings like ISO, shutter speed, and white balance are things that I always ask for and are usually only available on DJI drones, which is a huge benefit for me and the way I fly. Next, the range and connection was good. I never had any breakup or freezing of the FPV display or lack of control in our VLOS flight, so all good there. The precision landing pad search is really appreciated, and it does work well. If you use a landing pad, and even if you lose signal and it does an automated return to home, it has a possibility of landing right on the pad, which can potentially keep the drone out of dirt or away from rocks. Might keep you out of trouble once in a while, and for this reason, it's a standout feature. Also, the quick shots and functions included is one of the nicest collections that I've seen on a budget drone lately, with a special call out to the follow modes. Keeping the subject in the middle of the screen regardless of direction, options like parallel follow mode and orbit follow, where it orbits and follows at the same time, make it head and shoulders above most brands in this price range. There are also some things that need some work as well. The first is the battery life at 21 minutes and 23 minutes for our 2 flights. Now, it's not the greatest, but it's just okay. Now, don't get me wrong, we did have a little wind, so it might end up being a little longer in calmer conditions, but we're a little spoiled with some recent drones having flight times nearly double that, especially since this is specified at 32 minutes. Next, the gimbal roll up and down seems to have some jerkiness in it. When doing a cinematic roll, it seems to stutter a bit, and I'll put some of that zoomed in footage up here on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Perhaps this can be taken care of in different gain adjustments, but since I didn't notice this until after I was done flying, I didn't have an opportunity to try it. And lastly, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and yes, I think it's a big one. So when I got back to the studio, I started to review the footage off the SD card, and honestly, it's pretty soft. Not just a little, but downright blurry. I went out and flew again and verified the settings and adjusted a few things, like tried 4K 60, I turned the HDR mode on and off, made sure the high resolution was enabled, tried some shots with manual camera settings, and I just wasn't happy with the footage. Since I bought this on Amazon, I initiated a return and replacement, assuming I just got an effective model. I was pretty excited to take the replacement drone out and see what it looked like, and to my dismay, it was similar to the first. I reached out to Fimi to ask if there was something I was missing, and maybe there was a firmware update or something, but after a few correspondences, I was informed, and I quote, "When you took the blurry image, the temperature was around 28 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and this temperature is too low. We recommend using the drone to capture images in weather with temperatures of 60 degrees or above for better results. When do you expect the temperature in your area to reach 60 degrees F?" Wait, say what? So apparently the Fimi Mini 3 camera focus is temperature dependent. The spec from Fimi is 0 to 40 degrees C or 32 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And the flights I took initially were around that 32 degree mark, and the flights taken in this video were between 41 and 42 degrees F, which is well within the temperature spec. So you know how I roll. Being an engineer, I wanted to do a little more testing to give you as much information as I could, so I rigged up a little heater for the camera with a hand warmer to keep it toasty warm for a flight to see what happened to the focus, and I'll show you what it looked like here. And don't judge me on my setup. I know it's not pretty, but the drone still flew and was stable, and I'll put some comparison videos on the screen showing some warm camera video versus some 40 degree video. First, this is the 40 degree footage. Looks fairly soft, and if I zoom in, it's apparent that the focus is just off. The edges are a little ragged, but of course you be the judge. And here's the same scene with the soon-to-be patented drone camera warmer in place, and it seemed to be sharper, edges a bit more defined and a bit more crisp. Maybe not perfect, but certainly there's some improvement. And here they are side by side, which makes it easier to see, but I would say the focus did improve with the warmer temperature. My guess is that the focus does not change all at once at a specific temperature, but goes out of focus gradually the farther it gets below 60 degrees F or 15 degrees C. I fly regularly in temperatures from 10 to 20 degrees F, and I expect the battery to discharge a bit faster, but having the focus change is a deal breaker for me. For another perspective, these are pics from Fimi's website for the Fimi Mini 3, so apparently Fimi thinks it's reasonable to take video in climates where the temperature is below 60 degrees as well. Now, if you live in a climate that never gets below 60 degrees F when you want to fly, first, I'm jealous, but second, I think this is a capable drone that has great functionality, and I would be all over it for that price. But personally, I cannot live with this limitation. Now, that being said, Fimi, if you get a fix for this, I'll be more than happy to test it for sure, because honestly, without this one problem, I think this would be one of the best drones on the market today. My advice is, don't try and tell drone consumers this is normal, and if you fly below 60 degrees, you are doing it wrong. Rather, just admit this is not correct, own it, and fix it. Full stop. And lastly, as far as the kit, this kit comes in a single and multiple battery kit, and the kit I have comes with the drone, the remote, 2 batteries, spare props, connection cables, custom case, and the owner's manual. So if you're lucky enough to live in a tropical climate, I'll leave links below so you can check it out on Fimi's site and on Amazon for more information and current pricing. So those are my honest thoughts, but of course I want to know what you think. Leave me your comments below, I appreciate it. Till next time and next video, good flying.